Next thought, a video that makes you see this world differently. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Next Thought. In this video, I'm going to share how I overcome stress myself. As we know, nowadays more and more teenagers are facing a lot of stress, not just for their friends, from their family, but also from themselves. Especially in this pandemic situation, a lot of people, due to the lack of the communication, they have more and more stressed. Moreover, since for most of the colleges, there are only 1 month left to the finals. Therefore, I hope this video can help you in order to share my personal experience on overcoming the stress. So there are actually a lot of videos and articles about overcoming stress. However, I believe those are not very practical. Therefore, I prefer to talk in my way with my own experience and share with you. I hope that can help you better. The first thing is, you have to think the worst scenario. So this is the idea I read from the book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, written by Dale Carnegie. So this is actually a psychology book, and I really like this book. So in the book, it gave an example. In the Second World War, the Japanese conquered Shanghai, which is the city in China. So at that time, there was a businessman, a foreign businessman in Shanghai. So he got his own assets, and one day the Japanese just rushed to his office. During that period, he was quite worried since he doesn't know what will be the end of his life, and he just can't stop worrying, and he got a lot of stress. However, one day he just told himself, well, the worst scenario for me would be I just go die and that's it. But as long as I keep myself and as long as I can keep living, then that will be a big victory to me. And therefore, he tried all his best to negotiate with the Japanese at that time, and finally, he was not killed by the Japanese, and he also kept his assets. So that is a very famous example in this book, and I do think that is really helpful to me, since at that time when I was reading the book, I was in senior high school, and at that time I just have a lot of stress, especially for my peers. They're just so good, and after I reading that, okay, I won't be worse than, the people in the old days. At least I can be alive. I won't, lose my life. That would be a good thing. And even though I cannot find a job, that's fine. I still got my family. I still got friends. That's fine. I can still enjoy my life. So there is nothing to end your life nowadays. So just be happy. Yeah. So the first point is really important. While for the second point is you have to know what caused your stress. For me, around 1 year ago, I was actively finding for jobs. So I'm a foreign student and I'm seeking jobs in Singapore. So it's quite hard. It's quite hard for me to find jobs. And in those days, I was just so stressful. I just don't know where does the stress come from. But one day I just asked myself, what if I find a job? If I got a job, actually there's nothing to worry about. After I know where my stress comes from, I can focus on it and do this thing well. I know for you, probably the case is more complicated. There might be a lot of things that happening on you. So you can just take a list. Like first thing is job, second is etc. What thing else? And as long as you list all of them and you just put a tick beside it, if this issue has been solved, if that thing doesn't happen, whether I will still feel stressful or not. If you don't feel stressful anymore, you can just focus on those things that you put a tick beside it, solve it, and your life will just become neater and easier and make you have a passion to do something that you really need to focus on. Third thing is, I do love exercise. From basketball, badminton, swimming, gym, everything. I'm kind of like a sport guy. The reason I really like sports is, first, it's good for my health, and second is dopamine. Dopamine is something that is ejected by your brain and to come all over your body and make yourself excited. So, for example, when people take drugs, so why they feel so excited? That's because of the brain just released this kind of chemicals on dopamine and to make themselves happy. Therefore, there was a time when I really like to go to gyms, and even I just got addicted to it. So like previous days, I just work out from gym and my body, my flesh, it's a little bit painful, but I will still go there because I I will somehow like get addicted. And when I'm at the gym, when I'm in the swimming pool, I can just feel I'm just so happy. Yeah, I have to say exercise does help me to reduce a lot of stress. The fourth thing is I would usually drink a lot of water. So when I'm stressful, for example, at office, I can't, go out and run or, just to think about my life, right? So what would I usually do? I would just drink a lot of water. I don't know whether this habit is common, but I just like it. For example, when I'm writing code, sometimes, I just feel a bit stressful. I got some tasks, I need to finish them. I would just drink a lot of water. And that can largely help me to reduce a lot of stress. I know some people, they do like eat a lot when they're stressful. I just don't think that is, very good habit because, that can cause obesity and cause damage or cause harm to your stomach. But for me, I think drinking water is good, especially Singapore is quite hot. So water is good for the body, but I just don't recommend you to eat a lot when you're stressful. The fifth point I usually do is I do like play the computer games and to play a game of Go. So previously at schools, I just rarely play computer games. So usually I will only play once or twice in a semester. For example, after midterm exams or after my final exams, I would just play the computer games with my friends. But normally I just don't play that. The reason why I started to play computer games after I'm working is I just think the strategies that I used back to schools is not very applicable to my career. Because, at college, usually there were just 4 years or 5 years for maximum. However, in your career, it's like 5 decades to go. You can't use that kind of energy or passion all along the way for the 50 years. Therefore, sometimes you have to keep your brain fresh, and I believe one of the best ways to do that is to play computer games. So games can help you refresh your minds. It is especially effective for coding. Sometimes, your brain is just like CPU and it just jammed there. Even though you put a lot of other time on it to write code, you just can't do it because you just kind of jammed. So it's somehow like to reboot your system, to reboot your brain to just like it fresh. And when it restarts, then everything just works out fine. So that is just my personal experience. When back to school, I do like playing a game of Go since there are a lot of competitions and I'm also the member from the Go club in NTU. Therefore, at that time, I would play like 3 to 4 games per week. So one game maximum would be like 1 hour, minimum should be half an hour. So I would just spend some time on it to just focus. So the game of Go is another thing that can make me concentrated to a particular thing that I won't think of other things. So I put these two, my hobbies, here together. It's just something that can keep you concentrated to forget everything else. So that's just like a process to reboot your system. The last point I would like to share here is I usually like hang out with my friends when I'm stressful. I have to say I have a lot of good friends, like 3 of them. Usually we 4 guys, we just go out and hang out. So we really like movies and we also really like to eat together to talk some, not very practical but interesting topics. I do believe friends is another very important thing in my life because when you have some things upset or you have something want to share with others, you can just talk to your friends. And especially for some really good friends, they will listen to you and they will give you advice and try their best to help you. So I do appreciate I have very good friends in my life. Alright, I think this is it for this video. If you have any questions or any topics in mind that might interest you, you can just leave them in the comments below. I wish you all the best to your finals and I hope you can reduce your stress. Meanwhile, I wish you can be happy every day and enjoy your life. Tell me if you like it, so I'm enjoying it, and see you in next video.